I got into it a little bit today with America's Mayor. I can't even believe I'm saying that sentence. But I don't know. Some people have probably seen this pinging around the internet. There is a clip from, it was like last Friday, Breaking Points of one of my co-hosts, Krystal Ball, making a quip about Tyler Robinson not being like as good. I think she's like as good looking as Luigi Mangione, because we were talking about, and it kind of, the clip got cut off right there. But what we were talking about actually was that I was bringing this up with Luigi Mangione. There was this cult. It still is this cult of personality that almost immediately developed around him among young leftists. And part of the problem is that there were so few answers, and he was not apprehended for so long that people started filling in the blanks about motive. And it created this vacuum that was filled with I was going to say leftist, but I mean, I just say this like fringe leftist, almost vigilante mythology. And that's what the vacuum was filled by. So the context of what we're talking about is actually that it was great. The FBI was at that point Friday morning coming up with more and more answers about who the suspect is and what their motivations might have been. And now, as of today, I actually think we're starting to have all kinds of questions popping up. Some of them raised by Megan's interview with Dan Bongino earlier today, and some of them have been raised, frankly, by Steve Bannon. And some really important, clear questions that we should get answers to as soon as possible. But this clip is going around, and Rudy Giuliani posted, "My team respects you," to me, but why did you laugh at her, Krystal? Callous, cruel statement. Krystal's facial expression as she said it is what is particularly concerning to us. It's disgusting and vile. Where is your humanity? And by the way, I think it's perfectly legitimate for people who knew Charlie Kirk right now to be on edge and to be sensitive. And I have all of the grace in the world for people, by the way, including myself. I hope people are giving me grace during this time period, because this has just been, especially if you're on the right, it's been hard for everyone, but especially if you're on the right, this has been a collective trauma. And so it's been interesting to see this clip. I think I have this up on the screen. Go viral on different social media. If someone sent it to me on Instagram, I'm sure it's all on TikTok. Rudy Giuliani posted it. And I actually don't mind if people are upset about the full clip, to be honest. Like, if people disagree, like that's fine. I don't mind it. But it just has been such a reminder of how I just think unhelpful these conversations are on social media, because the point that was being made is so different than what's being conveyed in the posts that come afterwards. And that's where, when we're trying to define what is and what isn't cancel culture, like what is worthy of public shame and what is not worthy of public shame, that is an essential cultural function. Every healthy culture needs to be able to draw those boundaries with some sort of consensus. And it's in no healthy culture are there no boundaries. That's called anarchy. And you just say, we're not going to decide on a political level or a social level, or you believe that because you don't draw the boundaries on a political level, you'll be able to better draw those lines on a social cultural level. We needn't debate the finer points of anarchy right now, but basically, no healthy culture has zero stigma. You have to be able to come up with some boundaries collectively. And I've just been thinking this afternoon, as this has been bubbling up and going viral. I mean, it annoys me, but it's hardly the worst thing in the world that's happening right now. But when you're having these conversations on casino apps in your pocket, it's one thing for a company to entice you to spend your money in, reckless ways. It's another thing for companies to entice you to spend moral and intellectual capital in reckless ways. And I think the more our discourse is, the more our discourse is, what's the best way to put this? Let's just say the more our discourse is run through these casino apps, the less we are going to be able to decide a point of consensus on where these healthy boundaries are, because we are so easily stripped of nuance, because the algorithms prize strong emotion, and they actually just prize posting. So even just the idea that you're going to post on social media rather than having a private conversation, not with the world, and not with strangers, versus posting something to the world and with strangers, that is very, very new for humanity. And I think the experiment as it's run over the last 10 years has produced pretty clear results at this point. And if I were a big tech CEO, I would probably never get a good night's sleep. But what would make me sleep a little bit more easily is taking a huge financial hit and taking the algorithms out of people's timelines. If you're, slightly older, if you're my age and above, you remember when Twitter first came out, it was a literal timeline. Someone posted at 11:12 p.m. And then someone posted at 11:13 p.m. You saw those posts in sequence on your timeline. It wasn't delivered based on which was more likely to get you to spend more time on the app and to engage on the app. And those algorithms, since they've come to dominate the platforms, I mean, you would take any app would take an incredible financial hit for getting rid of algorithms, because that's what allows them to deliver even higher, quote, quality ads that are more valuable to advertisers. And social media advertising is a huge business, as we all know at this point. But if you got rid of the algorithms, then you would have a healthier discourse, because those incentives, I mean, there's still some bad incentives, right? Like you want to become more prominent and develop followings, and you still want likes and retweets and all of that. But there isn't an algorithm pouring rocket fuel on it. And everybody who was on Twitter before it left the original timeline format and was more heavily moderated with an algorithm will tell you the platform had a healthier sense of dialogue. I think just about there may be some of you that'll be in the comments disagreeing with that, but I think it's pretty obviously true. It was just more normal back and forth. It was calmer. And just, I'm talking only about X right now, which is a platform that has a minority of the American public as daily users and even as users, period. But so much of the political discourse is funneled through X and actually starts on X. I mean, we're talking about statements from the South Carolina Attorney General here. We're talking about places where people decided to post awful things that they may not have said to anybody's face, frankly, because, hey, likes, retweets, clout, and it teaches us to find our purpose and meaning in these places. And that is a really unhealthy habit culturally. And all of us fall into this at one time or another. Nobody's immune from this. This is not me preaching down to anybody or lecturing anybody. We absolutely all do this. But this is a time for a complete paradigm shift on social media. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing many calls for that right now, which is part of why I just wanted to discuss this, because in the wake of what's happened, we need to have a totally different, the Overton window about acceptable solutions to the social media crisis needs to change. It has to be acceptable to talk about much more dramatic proposals. And I say that, by the way, as like a civil libertarian free speech absolutist. But the power of these apps, the chemical power of these apps has to start getting compared more and more to food and cigarettes. And we need to start thinking about ways for young people particularly to legislate them. And we need to start, and this is, I think, most important, Except it's ironic in a meta sense, because I was just talking about how hard it is for us to draw boundaries and consensus as a culture on social media. Well, we need to bring stigma to the CEOs who are making billions of dollars a year, encouraging us to transfer our social and political lives into their casino apps. It's completely messed up, and that should be stigmatized. So there are potential regulatory solutions. Of course, I'm cautious of many of those, but we just have to have a totally different standard of solution to these problems and start to think very seriously about these apps in a different light. Recently, I learned about colostrum. Have you heard about colostrum? I always want to do a Trump impression when I'm talking about, known as liquid gold that babies receive from their mothers after birth. It's packed with proteins, natural growth factors, antimicrobial peptides that work to enhance your immune response, reduce inflammation, repair and balance gut lining, reduce bloating, and make your hair and skin look amazing. Today's sponsor, Cowboy Colostrum, offers the highest quality cow colostrum. Highest quality cow colostrum available in the US, 100% made in America from 100% American grass-fed cows. They're the best cows, folks. They don't overprocess or strip their colostrum, leaving it whole, full fat, and high protein for ultimate nutrient density. It is the highest quality bovine colostrum you can buy, and it's easy to drink, made with delicious natural ingredients and no artificial flavors. It really is easy to drink. Simply add a 3 gram scoop of either the chocolate, Madagascar vanilla, or strawberry in your coffee or smoothie, or actually even in milk. It's really tasty. For a limited time, our listeners get up to 25% off their entire order. Just head to cowboycolostrum.com/afterparty and use code AFTERPARTY at checkout. That's 25% off when you use code AFTERPARTY at cowboycolostrum.com/afterparty. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them our show sent you. Say, I came from Afterparty for the best cows.